I would just
And we're back.
that extensive work to lay down. I mean, even do you have that laser pointer? Yes,
Had
sir.
to catch
Thank you. Square
the
me away.
sale, right?
I mean, even in just public reporting, if you see the post-strike shack,
Hegseth is about to sell
the
it.
vast majority, and fairly so, the vast majority of speculation has been those are the 3 strike points. When in actuality,
Whether you want to buy it or
these
not.
are the vents, these are the caps. The first munition took the cap off, and the other 5 went down the center hole, which, if you're planning the target, you would want it to be the direct one going to the bottom. These are the types of things that go into the planning for a strike that the Pentagon would not expect the press corps or the American people to initially understand. So laying this information out is helpful. But it's also why we ask for a beat, for a moment, for a day or 2, the opportunity to tell that story. Because as the chairman said, these men and women that did this mission,
Why did you
they
come
just wanna
out
do their job.
on day
They're not
1 and
expecting
say
their
it
story to
was
be told.
obliterated?
They're not expecting the glory. They
If
are
you haven't
grateful
had
for
a
the
full
flags and arms
assessment.
of family. That's why they do the job. But they also know they were a part of something historic.
It's just as fair as
We know
anybody
how
for
historic
anybody
it
to
was.
come
The
back and
chairman does.
question
I know
that
our staffs
obliteration.
know. And so that's why we are, and the President of the United States knows. And that's why it's almost personal when we see the way in which leaks are used to try to
It's all
disparage
personal,
the
not
outcome
almost.
or muddy the
All.
waters about the impact of what happened without being responsible with information and allowing the professionals to assess.
That's why he's trying to
and
spin it
provide that
away from
information
him.
just like the chairman did. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that information, and we welcome a few additional
And
questions.
make us try to
Yes, sir.
praise
General,
the
on
the
Sunday,
pilot.
you said final battle damage will
Stop
take
that
some
shit.
time. And you also said, I think BDA is still pending, and it would be way too early for me to comment on what may or may not still be there. So
He ain't gonna like that
just
question.
over 3 days ago. So what has changed? Would you use the term obliterated as well?
Sure, like I said, we don't do BDA. I'll refer that to the intelligence community and,
I'm talking with them. I mean, what changed in the past 3 days and make you, so, you know.
sir, I think I said,
I think I explained what changed. There was a great deal of irresponsible reporting based on leaks, preliminary information in low confidence. Again, when someone leaks something, they do it with an agenda. And when you leak a portion of an intelligence assessment, but just a little portion that makes it seem like maybe the strike wasn't effective, then you start a news cycle. Whether it's the Washington Post or Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, you start a news cycle that starts to call into question the ethics. No, that's why. So you bring the chairman here, who's not involved in politics. He doesn't do politics. That's my lane to understand and translate and talk about those types of things. So I can use the word obliterated. He could use defeat, destroyed, assess, all of those things. But ultimately, we're here to clarify what these weapons
Why
are
would
capable of.
politics even be a
which
part of it?
anyone with, 2 eyes, some ears, and a brain can recognize that kind of firepower with that specificity at that location and others is going to have a devastating effect. So we all recognize there will be days and weeks ahead. That's why yesterday I said, if you want to know what's going on at Fort O, you better go there and get a big shovel. Because no one's under there right now. No one's under there able to assess, and everyone's using reflections of what they see. And that's why the Israelis, the Iranians, the IAEA, the UN, to a man and to a woman who recognize the capability of this weapon system are acknowledging how destructive it's been. So that's what's changed.
Just 3 or 4 days later.
See, this is a point.
That's a gotcha
This is how
question.
difficult it is to actually manage.
They call those
watch
gotcha
a
questions.
video of what this weapon is capable
When you
of.
can't answer it.
That's where we
It's a
find our
gotcha.
confidence, is in the skilled men and women and the capability of the systems they employ and the recognition so far and the reflections.
And the
that
only
it's a
way
highly
you can answer it
successful
is to spin it.
I'd say go out, the IC should be able to help you answer that question. They look at a variety, as the Secretary's alluded to, we look at a variety of things. I don't do that. They do all different sources of intel, which I'd refer you to them to get clarity on the and
So
stuff.
again, I go back to the IC, whether it's Director Radcliffe or ODNI Gabbard. I read the statements at the beginning. They're the ones aggregating the intelligence, and
Sell
they're
it,
saying
Pete. Sell it.
nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over a
Do what
number of
Daddy
years.
told you to do.
Facilities were destroyed. What do we got right here?
So you cited a body of credible intelligence to suggest that the damage at Fort O and other places. What is that referring to, and when do you say
I was reading from the CIA director's statement, which came out last night. CIA, again, they do the BDA, they do the assessment. CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates, it also goes on to say, new intelligence from historically reliable and accurate sources and methods. Now, you can imagine the CIA director is going to be very careful about how he articulates things of that sensitivity. Classified, secret, top secret, compartmentalized. He's going to know things that you're not going to know, that the press isn't going to know, and he's reflecting that the sources he's seeing are highly credible. They've given credible intelligence. They or those processes have given credible intelligence in the past, and that's what he's basing it on.
Do you think we need to see that?
Do you have a top secret clearance, sir?
Eventually,
Okay.
the American public wants
Yes,
to
sir. Yes.
I wanted to ask briefly just.
No, I need check and sure.
Oh, so Mike Glenn with the Washington Times.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anybody who's ever read a battalion S2 report after a fight knows that the initial report is usually wrong, sometimes grossly so. Has what happened in this incident caused you all to sort of rethink the intelligence process or the dissemination, or do you think it's just if the process itself doesn't require any more adjustment?
Well, I can tell you what the chairman told me in the Situation Room reminded us all, which is alongside what you just said, sir, is that the first reports are almost always wrong. They're almost always incomplete, right? Anything, whether it's a squad level operation or a strategic level operation, the initial reflections you get are coming at you at a high rate of speed from a lot of different sources.
So how then can you come out initially and say that it was obliterated?
We're urging caution about premising entire stories on biased leaks to biased
Answer that
publications
question.
trying to make something look bad. How about we take a beat, recognize first the success of our warriors, hold them up, tell their stories, celebrate that, wave an American flag, be proud of what we accomplished. And in the meantime, I can assure you, the chairman and his staff, the intelligence community, our staff and others are doing all the assessments necessary to make sure that mission was indeed successful. Yes, right there.
So, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Iran has recognized that their nuclear program was indeed severely damaged, but they also said that the U.S. strikes only strengthened their ability and their determination to complete their nuclear program. How do you respond to that, sir? Is that a provocation from Iran?
Well, I would say Iran's going to have to say a lot of things right now in order to bolster their image.
Yeah, just like what
especially
you're doing.
internally. You know, in the media, there's a lot of things they'll say for domestic consumption. But
Exactly.
we're watching very closely what they do.
Exactly
Again, that's the
what you're
internal
doing
community.
right here,
Our
right
job
now.
As the chairman, the chairman laid it out so beautifully. Our job is to be prepared. And how proud are you? How proud am I? I didn't know the full story of those men and women 15 years ago who've been pointing at that target. That makes me proud to be an American. That's an awesome story. I hope we can tell more aspects of that in an unclassified way in the future. That's a great thing to know. Our job is to be prepared when the commander-in-chief calls, based on those
So 15
assessments.
years
so of
ago-
course, our IC, the Intelligence Committee, will keep watching.
That was
what
under
Iran
Barack
does
Obama, right?
And pay attention to that. But the president has created the contours, the opportunity
They began
for
doing
deal,
that under Barack
for
Obama.
peace in something that the world said was intractable, that wasn't possible.
You
And we
missed
got
that,
that
huh?
peace, that ceasefire, that option, because of strength. Because of his willingness to use American military might that no one else on the planet can do, with the kind of planners and operators that the chairman just laid out. Yes, sir. Right there. Yep.
Yes, sir. Just a quick question. There's public imagery available saying that highly enriched uranium was moved out of Fordo before the strikes. Is that accurate? Have you seen that? And Mr. Chairman, a question for you. Have you been pressured to change your assessment or give a more rosy intelligence assessment to us by any political factors, whether it's the president or the secretary? And if you were, would you do that?
Yeah, that one's easy. No, no, I have not, and no, I would not. My job as the chairman is to offer a range of options to the president and the National Command Authority to deliver the risks associated with each of those.
Peter,
and
trying to
then
get his
take
thoughts
the orders
together,
of the National Command
how to answer
Authority
that question
and go
about that
execute
missing
them.
uranium.
I've never been pressured by the president or the secretary to do anything other than tell them exactly what I'm thinking, and that's exactly what I've done.
And the highly enriched uranium?
There's nothing that I've seen that suggests that we didn't hit exactly what we wanted to hit in those locations.
It's about highly enriched uranium. Do you have certainty that all the highly enriched uranium was inside the Fort Dome Mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance. Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect, but Jennifer, you've been about the worst. The one who misrepresents the most intentionally.
See,
What the president
that's
says.
a Trump-ism.
I'm familiar.
About the ventilation shafts on Saturday night. And in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this was the
Issues.
the most successful mission
Yeah,
based on operational
but back to the
security
question.
that this department has done since you've been here, and I appreciate
Where's the
that.
uranium?
So we're looking at all aspects of intelligence and making sure we have a sense of what was where.
Why not acknowledge the female pilots that also participated in this mission? The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots. I hope the men and women of our country sign up to do such brave and audacious things. But when you spin it as, because I say our boys and bombers is a common phrase, I'll keep saying things like that. Whether they're men or women, I'm very proud of that female pilot, just like I'm very proud of those male pilots. And I don't care if it's a male or a female in that cockpit, and the American people don't care. But it's the obsession with race and gender in this department that's changed priorities. We don't do that anymore.
Well,
We
no,
don't play your little games.
you're obsessed with
Yes.
race and gender. That's why you want to get rid of
Was
wokeness
removed
and
from the
DEI.
facility before the B-2 struck.
So I'm not aware of any intelligence that I've reviewed that says things were not where they were supposed to be, moved or otherwise. Yes.
Kelly Meyer with News Nation, and just off the top, I want to say we're grateful for the service of these pilots and everybody that serves. I wanted to ask you, the CIA statement said, when possible, they will provide updates and information to the public for transparency, and I believe that's what we're looking for here. Do you commit to share the Defense Intelligence Agency report when it is ready, so the American people can understand more about the intelligence assessment?
Well, actually, the report that was discussed, this preliminary report, was what's called a restrike report. So it comes to us to give us an assessment whether a target would need to be restruck, right? That's the reason why.
Where's the uranium?
Based on internal feedback loop that we're supposed to have access to. Unfortunately, someone took advantage of that. But whatever is supposed to be made public will be, but whatever has to stay sensitive.
Sir, can I
You
just
see,
jump
they
in?
can
You know,
make
one
a
of the
dirty
things that I'm
bomb
trying to do through this journey
without
that we're
making
on
a full
together,
nuclear
of course,
bomb.
transparency, but also the requirement to really protect
There
these
is many of them
capabilities.
with 900 pounds of enriched uranium.
So there's a balance in there, right?
60%.
We do need to preserve options should the nation and the joint force be tasked to go do something again. So I'm confident we'll find the middle ground, but there are some things that if asked, I want to not release related to this.
So we're going to leave it right there. I want to thank the heroism of our men and women in the military. What they accomplished is truly historic. Setting back
3
the
more
Iranian
years
nuclear
of this
program,
shit.
Untold number of years. It was a devastating attack. We appreciate you covering
And I'm
it.
gonna
Thank you very
document
much.
all of it.
Thank you.
All right, we've been
Until next
watching
time.
the last 45 minutes.
One
a news
love.
conference at the Pentagon that was Defense Secretary